Yo guys, what's up and welcome to another tutorial. Today I'm going to show y'all how to use starters in the correct way. So first I'm going to show y'all the sample that I made with the starter. Then after that I will show y'all which starter I picked and how it sounded like. And then after that I will show y'all how to find the root notes from the starter and how to find the key of the starter. Then I will show y'all the elements that I added onto the starter. And then after that I will show y'all how I mixed and mastered the sample and how I processed it after I mastered it. So please make sure to stay till the end. Make sure to leave a like and to subscribe to my channel. And as y'all can see, it's a different video, so I would really appreciate any feedback. So make sure to leave a cool comment. Make sure to turn on the post notifications, because then you will get a notification every time I upload. And make sure to follow me on my socials. And yeah guys, let's go. And by the way, I'm going to be breaking down two samples that I did with starters from @Beats on Instagram. Y'all make sure to check him out. His guitar riffs and his guitar samples and starters are so crazy. So I'll leave a link to him in the description. Y'all please make sure to check him out. He's actually crazy. So I picked this starter, which is called Parasite, from @Beats, as I already said. It's in 120 BPM and in F minor, but I sped it up to 125. And first of all, the starter is sounding like this. To be honest, you can already send it out as a loop, like as a finished one. And I just asked if I can use it as a starter, and he said yes, because I think I could add a little bit more to this melody. And the first thing I really added was my own guitar, which I basically just freestyle, I would say. It's a pretty simple melody and everybody can play it. I can even play the guitar, I don't even know the notes, but I just, as I said, freestyle it. And the finished guitar melody is sounding like this. Then for the effects on this guitar melody, I had this simple compressor with these settings, then this Apex Vintage Exciter with these settings, this RC20 for the wobble and the EQ, then this simple Valhalla Vintage Rub because the guitar was a little bit dry, so I tweaked the mix, the decay and the low cut and the pre-delay. Then this Soothe on its basic settings. If you're watching my videos for a longer time, you know that I use it on almost every sound. It's basically just an automatic EQ. And then I had this EQ where I cut a lot of the lows, some of the low mids, and I ducked some of the highs just to duck it more into the background, and I panned it 25% to the right. Then for the next thing, I used the Addictive Keys with the Studio Grand preset, and I just laid down this pretty simple counter melody or top line. I didn't even randomize the velocities, I just lowered them in a piano roll, and the finished piano melody sounded like this. Then for the effects on this piano, I had this Fruity Parametric EQ, which basically does nothing, so I just wanted to show it to y'all. Then this RC20 just for the wobble, this Apex Vintage Exciter with these settings, then this Valhalla Vintage Rub where I tweaked the mix, the decay, the pre-delay and the low cut, then this simple EQ where I took out some of the lows and some of the highs, and then this simple Soothe again on its default settings, and this EQ just to cut out some of the lows so they don't clash with the bass. Then for the next thing, I used Contact with the Ethnic Series Xiao Bank. I don't really know how to pronounce it, but I picked this long phrases section. I had the tempo sync on, and I laid down this pretty simple pattern. But first of all, I used the short phrases section, and I just picked this simple flute phrase, which sounds like this. And as in the last video, I can't really explain what I did because it ain't my flute phrases, I didn't play them, but I just laid down this pattern and it sounds like this. Then for the effects on these flute phrases, I had this fruity chorus with the default preset, and I put the mix on 23%. Then I had this Valhalla Vintage Rub where I tweaked the mix, the decay, the pre-delay and the low cut. Then this simple EQ just to cut out some of the frequencies that I didn't like or like that were too harsh. And then this EQ just to cut out a lot of the lows so they don't clash with the bass. And I panned it 25% to the left. Then for the next thing, I used the Abstract One-Shot Kit and Texture Kit from Pot by Bot. And I picked this Hogwarts percloop, which was at 126 BPM. I just time stretched it, put the mode on stretch, and this is how the finished percloop is sounding like. And for the effects on this percloop, I just set the simple EQ just to cut out some of the lows, and I turn it 6% in mono. Then for the next thing, I used one of Huck's kits, and I used this Angel bass, and I just laid down this pretty simple bass line which just follows the root notes from the guitar, and I will show you how to find them after I previewed this bass pattern. I just randomized the velocities, and that's basically it for this bass, and it sounds like this. Then for the effects on the bass, I had the simple decapitator with the 70s record preset, and I think I left it how it was. Then this simple EQ where I took out some of the frequencies that I didn't really like. Then this soothe on the hard setting and the knob to 5.1. This simple EQ where I cut out the muddy lows because they weren't necessary for the sample, and I ducked some of the highs, and I put it 100% in mono. And now if you want to find the bass notes, you can either just let it run through Melodyne and you have the pattern or like the MIDI right there, or you just can double click on the sample, then right click the audio clip, go on edit an audio editor, then it will open up Edison. Then you can press this thing here, then detect pitch regions, and then you can just zoom in and see the bass notes, and then you can just lay down your bass line or whatever you want. And yeah, it's pretty simple but pretty effective. Then for the next thing, I use this snare or drum roll and this simple riser, and it's from both Carlos kit. The first one is named The Fill, and the risers sound Avatar effects, and both of them together sound like this. And now I will show you all the sample with and without the risers, because it just gives the sample way more energy, and without it sounds like this. And with the effects or with the risers, it sounds like this. Then after that, I just added my simple mastering chain, which I will show you in the next sample that I will break down in this video. And after adding the mastering chain, I just rendered the sample out, normalized it, put the declicking mode on generic, the mode on stretch, and put it on the 8th mixer track. And on the 8th mixer track, there is the simple fruity parametric EQ, then this simple soothe with these settings, and on the hard setting, then this sound shift to pitch 0 from waves where I pitch it down by 1. And I had this simple EQ just to lower the volume of the bass and to cut out the muddy load. And that's basically it for this sample, and the finished sample is sounding like this. And now for the second sample, which I will break down, I used the starter from Ed Hannon Beats again, so please make sure to check him out as I said. First of all, the sample is sounding like this. And I would even say that it's one of my favorite samples that I've ever made, and it's a pretty simple sample because as you can see I just used 5 sounds, which includes the starter from Ed Hannon Beats. And first of all, the starter is sounding like this. And it was a 91 BPM, but I doubled it so it was basically 182, and then I just lowered the BPM to 173 because I just liked how it sounded a bit slower. And for the first thing I added was this addictive keys with the Studio Grand preset again, and I just added this pretty simple pattern. It may look complex, but it really isn't. I just laid down a pattern for 4 bars and then just copied it over. I randomized the velocities, strummed it, which you can do with Alt and S, and the finished piano pattern is sounding like this. And for the effects on this piano, I had this fruity parametric EQ again, which I didn't touch at all. Then this simple RC20 just for the wobble. This Apex Vintage Exciter with these settings. Then this Valhalla Vintage Reverb where I tweaked the mix, the decay, the pre-delay and the low cut. Then this EQ where I took out some of the lows and ducked some of the highs. Then this soothe again on the hard setting and the knob to 5.7. Then this simple EQ where I took out some of the lows so they don't clash with the bass again. And I put it 25% to the right. And that's basically for the effects on this piano. Then for the next thing, I used this Ethnic Series Xiao again. I don't know if I pronounced it right again, but I picked the long phrases and I put the tempo sync on, and I laid down this pretty simple pattern. As you can see, it's just 4 notes, but together they sound awesome. And the finished flute phrase pattern is sounding like this. And for the effects on these flute phrases, I had this simple EQ where I took out a lot of the frequencies that I didn't like. Then this Valhalla vintage reverb where I tweaked the mix, the decay, the pre-delay and the low cut. Then this simple soothe on the hard setting and the knob to 5.3. And then I had this EQ just to cut out some of the lows because they weren't really necessary for the whole flute phrases. And that's basically it for the effects on this flute. Then for the next thing I used this drum loop which is named Kirkland, and it was in 180 BPM, so I brought it into time. I lowered the volume, and as you can see I had this automation clip right here because there was this like lab or rim and I just wanted it to have a lower volume, so I just had this automation clip, and the percloop is sounding like this. Then for the effects on this percloop, I just had the simple EQ where I took out some of the lows and some of the highs just to duck it more into the background. And then for the next thing I had this bass from Nami's kit, which is called Bass Upright Process, and I put the crossfade thing on, played with the length so it sounds clean, used the loop points, and I laid down this pretty simple bass line, and as you can see I have some slide notes right here just to give the whole bass line more variation, and the finished bass line is sounding like this. And for the effect on this bass, I just set the simple soothe on the hard setting and the knob to 5.0, and then this EQ just to cut out some of the muddy lows, and I put it 67% in mono. Then after that I just put my simple mastering chain on, which has this simple compressor with these settings, this A10 control, then this fruity parametric EQ2 just to duck some of the highs and some of the lows because I wanted it to sound more vintage. Then this RC20 for the wobble, the distortion, the magnetic and the EQ. Then this fruity parametric EQ where I boosted the highs again. Then this EQ which I didn't touch at all. And this soothe on its default settings just to remove some of the frequencies that are too harsh. Then after that I just rendered it out, normalized it, put the declicker mode on generic, put the mode on stretch and put it on the 8th mixer track again. And on the 8th mixer track there's a simple fruity parametric EQ where I took out some of the frequencies that I didn't like. And I had this EQ there just to cut out some of the muddy lows again. And the finished sample is sounding like this. So yeah guys, if you all enjoyed this new style of video, please make sure to leave a like and to subscribe to my channel. And I think the video should be a little bit longer, so I hope you enjoyed that as well. And as I said, please make sure to leave a like, to subscribe to my channel and to leave a cool comment. And maybe even to let me know how you like these type of videos so I can make more of them. And thank you for this crazy support. We had almost 2.2k. We hit like 2k I think 2 weeks ago. So make sure to keep going crazy. And yeah guys, see y'all.